And what we're going to do now is we'll start with our steak burger. And what we have here is from our restaurant. Why we call it a steak burger is we use our steak trimmings from the ribeye and from the New York filet mignon, and then we top that off with top sirloin. We use choice meats at our restaurant only, and we have, let me get this open here, we have an 8-ounce patty here. Now you can use whatever size patty that you're comfortable with. We use an 8-ounce patty because we can cook it any way you want. You can have that cooked medium well, medium rare. It's not usually recommended, and especially by health departments, we're not allowed at the restaurants to cook anything below medium well, and that's because of safety concerns with different foodborne illnesses that can occur in ground meat. Now, if you like a well-done patty, you might want to have it a little bit less weight on it so that it's thinner. But at the restaurant, we're pretty confident of our meat because we grind it ourselves. We use only the finest meats, and we grind it there at the restaurant every day fresh. If you like your meats probably medium rare, something along there, anything below medium well, what I would recommend is go to one of the grocery stores locally and get the meat that they're grinding fresh daily. Don't get the meat in that case that comes in the tubes or that they've processed from some location that's a big processing plant, because they put all sorts of different parts of the cattle and stuff in there, and the safety of it's not quite as good there. Any problems that we've had nationally has almost always been from large distributors who are doing mass quantities of stuff. When they grind the meat at the local supermarket, they're using only their trimmings and things like that. So that's going to be a good safe meat for you. So the first thing we're going to do with these here is I have a screen set up over here. I'm going to put the patties down, and then I'm going to season them. Now you can use any kind of seasoning that you like. Some people even use A1, of course, the famous A1 burger and that sort of thing. Salt and pepper, people put garlic on it. What we use at the restaurant is, of course, our Great American seasoning, and that's something that we've had as a recipe at the Great American for over 30 years, and it really adds and enhances the flavor of any meat. So what we're going to do is put it on there fairly liberally, and I'm going to do this over this screen here, and as you can see, that's it's not coating it entirely, but it's putting it on there fairly liberally, because some of the seasoning is actually going to melt off when it's on the grill. So we're just going to put that right down there in the middle, and I'm going to do this other one, both sides of it. There we go. We'll put that right there on the grill. Okay, we'll put this seasoning right over here, and let me throw this away. First thing here we go. I'm just going to wash my hands here real quick so that we don't have any contamination on anything. When you're starting with raw meat, you want to wash your hands after that, because once it starts cooking, you don't want any of the raw juices from your hands to recontaminate the meat after it's cooked. So just make sure you have something handy to wash your hands. Here we go now. These are generally, on a grill like this with a patty this thick, it's probably going to take you somewhere between 7 minutes, 8 minutes for it to cook all the way through. And you don't want to turn the patty too much. That's one of the mistakes that people make when grilling burgers, is they tend to turn their patty a whole bunch of times. Now, with a steak, that's a good idea because you want to keep the juices in the middle, and I'll explain that more later when we go into the ribeye. But with a burger, you really want to let it sit on the grill until you can see the juices bubbling up from the middle. And at that point, you flip it over and then cook it for maybe another minute or two, and then it should be done at about a medium well. So let me grab my paddle here, paddle spatula, and we'll let those cook for just a few minutes. The amount of fire that you're going to get on your grill, you don't want to have your grill too high when you're cooking. A lot of people think, well, if I cook it on high, then it's going to cook faster, and that's not necessarily the case. If you have it too low, it's going to take a long time to cook, but you want a nice medium to medium high heat, because that's going to give you the best results. It's going to cook it fast enough, but it's also going to not burn the outside, because a lot of times a burger is going to burn on the outside, especially if it has more fat in it. Now at the restaurants, we have about an 85% grind. That means it's 85% meat and about 15% fat. You need some fat in there to give it flavor. The leaner the burger, the less flavor it's actually going to have. So you need to have enough fat in there for it to have the flavor, but you don't want so much in there that it drips down onto the grill and causes fires on the grill and that sort of thing. Another thing that's good to have is just a little squeeze bottle of something, of water, and or a glass of water, so that if you do get a big flare up, then you can just put a little bit of water on there. It's not going to hurt your grill. It's just going to suppress that flame so you don't have a safety hazard or burn your meat up. So we're going to let these cook for a minute here, and just let them go on and cook. We're probably a couple of minutes away from flipping them. As I said, you'll notice on the meat, the seasoning is starting to glisten and it's starting to melt into the food. Some of that will drip off onto the outside of it, and some of it will end up sinking into the meat and actually flavoring your meat. So you can over salt meat, but with the seasonings we're using, it's a mixture of paprikas and peppers and salts and things. It's not going to overwhelm the meat. If you're using just salt, then you want to use it fairly lightly. And the salts actually melt away fairly quickly. So, as far as having like I said, the water suppression, just a bottled water would be fine. What I'm going to do is just close this for a minute, because that's another thing that you can do to have your burger cook faster, and it'll cook a little bit more evenly. If you get your heat built up around there, then it's cooking not only from the bottom, but it's also cooking from the top. One common mistake that people make when grilling burgers is they tend to want to flatten it out, and they do that mainly because they think it's going to cook faster, and that's really not the case. All that does is dry out your burger. Heat is normally conducted through water better than air or anything else. So if those juices are still in there, as those heat up, they're going to continue cooking your burger. So it's really not going to make any difference to flatten it out and squish all that juice out of it. All you're really doing is drying out the burger. So if you want to have a nice juicy burger like we serve at the restaurant, when you're doing your backyard, then don't squish the meat with the patty, with the spatula, okay? Okay, now as you can see, the juices are coming out of this burger, and that's the ideal time to flip it, because of all of the heat has come up and it's convected up to the top. And you can see there's little bubbles in it. That shows you that the heat is cooking the juices. Okay, we'll flip them right there. And it's only going to take about 2 minutes from this point, and they should be a good medium well. If you want to cook them any less than that, then this is the point in time you probably want to flip them just a minute or so earlier, so that you get a good charred flavor on both sides, but yet you don't overcook the middle. So now our heat is just about right on this grill right now. As you can see, we're getting a little bit of flame up, but that's okay. A little bit of flame up isn't a problem at all. You just don't want big constant flares up. And now these burgers are just about ready to come off the grill. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and toast the buns. Now some people like the buns toasted, some people don't. What I do is I put mayonnaise on the bun and just place it on the grill here right next to the burgers. It's not going to take long for that to toast. Probably not more than a minute or a minute and a half. You don't want them to burn on there, but you just want the mayonnaise to heat up and make it a little bit crispy on the underside. Some people use butter when they're doing that and toasting the buns. I prefer the mayonnaise because the egg in the mayonnaise tends to get a little bit more flavor, and it firms up a little bit more than the butter. The butter drips off of the bun as much, and it doesn't soak into the bread. So we're just going to let both of those sit together for just a couple of minutes here, and then we'll pull them off and set up our burger. One thing that you can do is if you're on a low sodium diet or something like that, there's a lot of available options that you can use to get a good flavor on a burger, but yet not have that same salt content. There's a couple of things that you can use. A lot of pepper. You can use some garlic. Avoid the ones with the salt added to the garlic. Those always make a good thing. There's also a seasoning called Mrs. Dash, which has a pepper, Mrs. Dash's pepper, and they have all sorts of seasonings in with the pepper. So it almost tastes like there's salt in it, but there isn't. So that's a good alternative if you're on a low sodium diet. So I think these are just about ready. Let's just check these buns here. Now that's just about perfect there. So what we're going to do is just pull our bun off there, put it right on here. We'll put it on our plate, and we'll put that on there. We'll add some lettuce and tomato to that, and onion, whatever you like on your sides, and that one's ready to go.